here is to just talk about you, your achievements, and get out of the way so that you can talk about you. I do just want to say thank you again for all of your achievements, and not just your achievements on the field, but what you do every day by inspiring and encouraging other people, other young women, to go into fields that they might not have thought were available to them. I was wondering tonight, it was a toss-up as to whether I would get through the night without getting a bit teary, and I lost that fight right near the beginning of the video, especially with Stevie talking about, you know, being a role model, and I think that's something that every Smithy does, but I think you folks in particular with your achievements are just encouraging women every day, just showing them how to be in a world that never really encouraged them that way. It's nice to see that there are more women getting involved in sports and finding that self-esteem. Thank you for bringing that to them. So, without further ado, let's bring up some of our inductees to the Hall of Fame. And unfortunately, of course, our first one is not here tonight, but we have her daughter here, a 3-year member of the All-Smith field hockey team, a track and field star, winning the most points all 4 years she competed. She went on to be named to the U.S. field hockey team in 1928, 1929, and 1933. She was a member of the touring team in Australia in 1938. Agnes Rogers Bixler, class of 29. Her daughter Aggie is here to accept the award on her behalf.
Actually, there are 2 of us here. This is my sister Elizabeth. She's here. Give me support. All my life I've been mistaken for my mother, so this afternoon when we were out on the field hockey field and they announced the class of 29, Agnes Rogers Bixler, and I walked across and they started announcing what I had done, and then someone afterwards came up to me and said, "We're trying to figure out how old you are." I said, "Well, maybe 106. Pretty good." I think Mom grew up in an era when women actually did things, but they didn't talk about them a lot. So when we were kids, we had heard that she was on a U.S. team or something, so we said, "Mom, were you in the Olympics?" And she said, "No." So, you know, it was kind of mysterious, because that's all we knew about, something in the Olympics. Then I started field hockey in high school. And I was on some sub-varsity team, and she came to the games, and she didn't really say much. So the next year I said, "Mom, come on out in the backyard and play hockey with me." And she said, "Sure." So we were hitting the ball around, and she told me how bad we actually were the year before. And I said, "Well, Mom, why didn't you help me?" And she said, "I don't believe in pushing my kids." So, actually, I don't know what she would say if she were here today, but I know she would agree that it's because Smith College has had the wisdom to think that sports and competition are great for women, and they've had this view for about 130 years, not just the last 40 years that the government has sort of forced onto the people who had not seen the light. And it's true that without my mom, I wouldn't be the athlete that I am. I'm sure of that. So thanks a lot, Mom. And Elizabeth here would like to say something.
Well, what I'd like to say is I'm sure, first of all, that this audience, more than any other I can think of, will appreciate how, for me to describe what it's like to be the daughter of Agnes Rogers Bixler and the little sister of Agnes Bixler Kurtz would be very difficult. Let's just say that I finally figured out it would be wise for me to explore a different career from the one in which they so excelled. But having said that, I want to say that all the good lessons that we learn in athletics, to practice, to work hard, to be disciplined, and above all, to be a team player have served all of us really well. I'm so grateful to my mother for making sure that at all times during our growing up years, we had a ball in one hand and a stick or a racket of some sort in the other. And of course, I'm so proud of her for her athletic feats and for being so ahead of her time, a real pioneer and a real team player. Some of you may have heard the story that shortly after she married our dad, she went off with her U.S. field hockey teammates to Australia for 6 weeks for international competition. Now, I know this is about my mom and not my sister, but I consider my sister Aggie to be one of my mother's best accomplishments. So I want to say that I'm grateful to Aggie for teaching those lessons I mentioned to tens of thousands of young women, or is it hundreds of thousands by now? But having lived my entire adult life in New York, I'm particularly proud that one of those women is doing a fabulous job as my United States Senator, Kirsten Gillibrand. And she was asked by the New York Times in 2012 what qualified her for her job. She said, in effect, Aggie, who, in the words of the senator, said, quote, "She understood the importance of athletics in developing women." So thanks, Ag, and thanks to our mom from us New Yorkers. And I'm really sorry our mom couldn't be here because she really would have had a good time.
So, as an Ada, I can't tell you how pleased I am that our next inductee didn't even begin riding until she was almost 40, finding a whole new career path and her new calling. In addition to being a champion of Smith Equestrian, she has written a book, developed the Horse Memoir Project, which is housed here at Smith, and created an alumni newsletter and website to keep riders connected to the program and to each other. Please congratulate inductee Jean Eichelsdorfer, class of 43.
Remember to say cheese. Okay. Well, I thank you very much for this honor. But really, I'm here to represent my teammates, who are the real pioneers. Every horse sport is a team sport. It should be emphasized, no matter how different they are, whether it's braiding or roping or polo or whatever, trail riding. It's always a team sport. It's you, the rider, and the horse working together for a common goal. And I think riders appreciate that. After a while, they're bound to appreciate their teammates who do everything they can to help them and instruct them. I've had many teammates, and everyone is the reason that I'm here. I think a lot of riders enjoy their horses so much and what they learn from them that they work their final goal in life around the horse. We have 30 different professions that Smith graduates have taken up that involve the horse, and even lawyers and real estate, veterinarians in particular, many others. And just one other thing I wanted to say, the horse world is expanding enormously. The horse has taken on a new job, which is healing people. Maybe some of you have read some of the new things. For some time, horses have helped physically disabled riders. Lately, disease that children have, autism, did I get that right? autism. There are many books about, and a few films about autistic children that have been healed by contact with horses. It seems as there's something in the nature of the horse, the way he approaches other people and other elements, and the moment in time, the reality that is healing to people. They've been used to take care of prisoners, the criminals, and heal battle fatigue, and many other things are being used by therapists to heal horses, just the contact with them. So I thank you for this honor in the name of all of my teammates, the horses.
Our next inductee was responsible for kind of a sea change in the athletic department here at Smith. She was instrumental in the development of the intercollegiate athletics program. Smith's first varsity field hockey coach and was also squash coach. She was a member of the U.S. field hockey team that went to South Africa in 1950 and was a national field hockey umpire for 30 years. Please congratulate inductee Carolyn Hoff.
Like 4 in a goal. Congratulations.
First, I want to thank Lynn and her committee for selecting me to the Smith College Hall of Fame. It's truly a privilege to be among my second-year classmates as we accept this honor. As I thought about Smith's intercollegiate program and my part in it, it seemed to me that I had helped plant a tiny acorn that really struggled at first, but thanks to many people has grown into a mighty oak. In 1971, the Department of Physical Education planted this acorn, voting to have 3 intercollegiate teams on a trial basis, namely field hockey, basketball, and tennis. Many of our students were coming to Smith from highly competitive interscholastic programs, and they wanted to be able to continue to compete. Several of us worked very hard to persuade the majority of the department to vote to try these teams. I remember as we left the meeting after the vote, successful vote, Jane Mott, the director of the Department of Physical Education at that time, looked at me and she said, "You have been in the most unlikely alliance that I have ever seen." Next, we had to get permission for President Mendenhall to take down plaques that were posted in the field house and in Scott Gym. They'd been put up by President Davis in the 40s. They said that there should be no intercollegiate competition at these facilities. That was the Ainsworth philosophy. Mr. Mendenhall agreed to take down the plaques and to the development of the program. as long as it didn't cost the college any money. Our funds came from the Athletics Association, which received their funds, their money, from the thing that was called blanket tax. I believe it's now the student activities fee. There was no money for outside officials, no money for travel. We coaches and graduate assistants umpired the games. Can you believe it? All teams had to come to Smith to play. This was fine for field hockey because we had the best field in the Northeast. But it wasn't so good for basketball because in Scott Gym there was a balcony that intruded on the basketball court on all four sides. But that's the way it was. There was no Ainsworth Gymnasium. And Scott, as I said, had this huge balcony. By the end of that year, the program had proved to be so successful that quickly many other teams were added. One of these was Crew, which had a special place in Mr. Mendenhall's heart. He didn't like the old small shells which were used on the pond, and they weren't suitable for racing. Now, as I said earlier, the program couldn't cost the college any money. So how are we going to get Crew? Well, he had a friend of his who happened to be a friend of Freddie Gamble, who's here with Aggie Kurtz. He got Freddie Warburger to donate the first racing shell. Because it wasn't going to cost the college any money. As I said, no money. But Mr. Mendenhall planted his acorn that's now grown tremendously under the leadership of Karen. And he would have reveled in the success of the Crew team that we're honoring tonight. In the fall of 1972, the First Smiths team went on a road trip. My former student, Aggie Kurtz, who was at Dartmouth at the time, called and asked if I would bring my team up to play. It was their first year of having women's field hockey. So I said, sure. I shudder to confess that there was no money for transportation. So we went in private cars. Mine, my graduate assistant, and a student's. There was no money for gas, no money for food. We just wanted to go. It didn't occur to us. I even called Aggie and said, could we change the game from Wednesday to Friday? Because some of the team wants to stay open for the weekend. So she agreed, and she told me that there'd only be one spectator, so it would be okay. The program, this little acorn, struggled because it wasn't nourished properly. It didn't need money. It didn't rain, it needed money. When members of the swim team first qualified for nationals in 1997, Kim told me, we need $5,000. I gulped, and as acting athletic director of Intercollegiates at that time, I had to go to the president. Now the president happened to be Jill Conway. She was developing an understanding of the needs of the program and immediately said yes. And the reason she could say yes was that Al Gordon had just given a large contribution for athletics. So that's how we began to grow. During the 70s, the Acorn struggled. Ainsworth was under construction and formally opened on February 24th, 1977. Scott was being renovated on both levels. The obtrusive balcony was removed. And I might add that when we opened Ainsworth, Jill wanted to be sure that everyone got into the gym to see what it was all about. So she declared there would be no food served in the dormitories at lunch, and that you had to come to the gym to get your lunch. So that was a great beginning. Gradually, our facilities expanded to accommodate the growing program, the growing Acorn. And as the program developed, the athletics administration, as well as the funding component, changed. Today, we can see that a mighty oak has grown really very, very well. It pleases me to be here tonight to show our appreciation for this and to honor you skilled athletes and coaches and past coaches, present coaches, and administrators. I'd like to add just one small request. I'm sorry President McCartney isn't here to hear this, but I will pass it on to Dean Lister and Lynn. Please continue to nourish our majestic oak. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee started out as a 3-year member of the Smith swimming and diving team, but she fell in love with rowing, which I hear is fairly common. In her junior year, she was named the Smith Athletics Rookie of the Year. She was the stroke in the varsity lightweight 8 boat that captured the Eastern Spring Crown in '83. She went on to win the double sculls at the Rowing World Championship in Nottingham, England in 1986, the first gold won by women scullers. She won senior master double with a record-setting 1917 932 at the 2013 Head of the Charles. She currently coaches high school girls at all levels at Community Rowing Incorporated. Please congratulate Carrie Beth. CB stands for Class of '83.
Thank you. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I've had a great weekend so far here at Smith. I'd like to thank everybody who put the weekend together. And then I just really wanted to thank 2 groups of people. First, my family, mainly my parents, but everybody in my family, my siblings, who've supported me, not only when I was young, but still today. I have a lot of my family here today. One of my daughters wrote an essay, she's here tonight, when she was in high school, that started out with the line, "I grew up on the race course." She wrote about days that she spent at regattas, at boathouses, and if you've ever been to a rowing regatta, you spend like 6 hours at the race course to see your daughter race or your mom race for 30 seconds. So it wasn't necessarily the most exciting thing in her life, But she was a really good sport, as was the rest of my family, and it has meant a lot to me. Then I kind of wanted to thank every single coach I ever had, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to thank, I had 3 coaches while I was here at Smith. First I had Kim. I think Kim will attest that I was rarely the first person in the pool. Started practice. In fact, I never was. And we had a pretty huge range of athletes at the time, from beginners, relative to beginners, who maybe had only swum a couple hundred yards in their life, to people like Bella, who you'll hear about. But Kim was really good about just helping us set individual goals, working hard, and just kind of keeping everybody in the game all the time. And by the way, we weren't the pioneers back then. I think we were the unicorns. And the swim team was the wild bunch. And I think they still are, right? We're the bananas. So that's a tradition that stays with us. Then when I switched over to rowing, Chick Leonard was my novice rowing coach. And just a quick word about Chick. I mean, he was a great storyteller, which he would tell these personal stories that were just so amazing, and I later learned that they were basically infused with quite a bit of growing urban legend. But he sucked athletes into the sport, as many swimmers will attest. They got sucked over to the crew team. And then last but not least, I had Kathy Keeler, who's here tonight. We called her Killer Keeler back then. I think she knew that, right? Yeah. And, you know, I have to thank her because she encouraged quite a few of us to follow in her footsteps and reach out for the national team, which is something I'm 100% sure I'd never have done if I hadn't had her encouragement and support. And then last but not least, I had a lot of really great teammates. Linda Mary's here tonight with me. And, you know, teammates can be your best role models, your best coaches, your best mentors. You know, and I've just been really lucky to have some of the best teammates. So, thank you.
Our next inductee is a 16-time NCAA swimming and diving All-American. Won multiple New England championships, held 8 school records, and is still on the record board for the 400-yard freestyle relay and the 800-yard freestyle relay. She was the swimming and diving rookie of the year and has coached at Boston College, Smith, Wellesley, MIT, and was head coach at Wheaton. Please join me in congratulating inductee Bella Marlowe, class of '83.
I have a script, but I'm going to go off script for just a minute. Everybody I know, I should be over here. Everyone I know knows that I'm very nervous about this. I do not like public speaking. I do not like making speeches at all. But I was actually having a conversation with CB last night, and we were talking about how if you're in a familiar environment, you're much less nervous. And so I was thinking about actually when I'm coaching and I'm standing on the pool deck and my swimmers are in the pool, that I'm not particularly nervous. So I'm going to use my imagination here. You guys are all with me on this. And this is the pool. You are all my swimmers. I'm on the deck. I'm fully clothed, and you are all in your Speedos. Pretty good, right? All right. First, let me begin by thanking Lynn, her staff, and all the individuals associated with the Hall of Fame. And of course, I want to thank my family and my friends who are here today. Thank you very much. I'm humbled and filled with overwhelming pride to be among the celebrated with a group of amazing and accomplished women. This is truly a wonderful event, and I'm truly honored to be a part of it. I also want to thank Smith College for having the wisdom to provide the resources necessary to create a world-class learning environment and opportunities for women that extends well beyond the classrooms and laboratories. College is about exploration, introspection, taking on challenges, taking risks, and growth. These things happen everywhere on the campus to help the women of Smith find their way in life and their true calling. I came to Smith from England, where I went to an all-girls high school. I swore I would not go to a women's college. I felt I should have a co-ed experience. But I came on campus the summer before my senior year. I took a tour, I remember, with an extremely enthusiastic young woman, and I immediately felt a connection. It was an intangible something. And then I visited the athletic department, met the swim coach, Kim Beerwort, met several members of the swim team, and that was it. I knew I was home. I knew I was in the right environment. I knew I would love every minute of my 4 years at Smith. So for me, it was not just about learning in the traditional classroom. For me, the pool was also my classroom. And my team and my coach were also my professors. I can't thank Kim enough for his wise teaching and skilled coaching, and to my team too, and several of you guys are out here. That's awesome. You were the powerful women that supported me, the glue that helped me stay grounded, and ultimately the reason that I was lucky enough to find my true passion in teaching and coaching swimming. That intangible something when I first came on campus, well, later on I realized that feeling was the nurturing environment and the support of wonderful, strong women all around me. And those 4 years at Smith, well, they turned into 2 more years when I stayed on to be the assistant swim coach. So I call myself a 6-year Smithy. I have a full life and a beautiful family, including my wonderful husband, John, who's here, and 2 16-year-old twin daughters, who unfortunately could not be here because due to their own athletic commitment today. But they soon will be embarking on their own fantastic collegiate journey, and no, they don't swim, but they do run track. So Carla, we didn't speak last night, but we want to talk. But seriously, most of all, I have a cherished profession that I owe to the wisdom of Smith College that made the entire campus a classroom. Thank you very much.
You probably didn't hear it in the video because you were applauding, rightfully so. But our next inductee was suffering from a shattered elbow during her time here. Despite that, she was a 6-time All-American diver for the Smith swimming and diving team. During her senior season, she won the 1-meter and the 3-meter diving title at the New England Championships with regional program record dives in both. Please join me in congratulating our next inductee, Sabra Kroll-Quadro, class of '86.
Us swimmers, we all get nervous. We had a conversation about this last night, but I promise I won't cry. It was almost 30 years ago that I took my final dive at Smith. It wasn't quite the swan song that Derek Jeter just had, but it still was my own final goodbye to a sport, but not to the lessons that I was able to take with me. I learned that it is easier to take constructive criticism than it is a compliment or praise, but that it's important to take both graciously. I learned that the success of another is not a defeat upon yourself. As I've reiterated to my children many times, do the best that you can do. Don't leave anything on the field or in the pool. Give it your all. That's the most anyone can ask of you, and you'll always feel good about yourselves afterwards. I learned about success versus failure. Kim kept an article on the bulletin board at the pool for a long time. There was a picture of Abraham Lincoln, and it quoted all of his failures before he became one of our best presidents ever. And so don't be afraid of failure. Success is so much sweeter when you have tasted failure. Just because you fall off the 300-meter board down onto the pool deck doesn't mean that you shouldn't climb back up and try again. Just be a little bit more careful the next time. I learned that an injury is not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a wake-up call to get your drive and intensity back and work that much harder. Don't look at setbacks in life as a bad thing. Sometimes they just drive you to do better. I learned that anything in life is easier and more enjoyable when you share it with a friend. Some people may think that swimming and diving are individual sports, but there is no such thing. The support and encouragement of teammates, coaches, friends, and family is incredibly valuable. As Abraham Lincoln also said, I'm a success today because I had a friend who believed in me and didn't have the heart to let him down. There were many times that I did well, won a meet, had a great dive, whatever, because I was afraid to face him afterwards. My daughter told me last year that sometimes she swims in the pool faster when Kim is watching because she's afraid not to. So it continues on even between generations. I learned that bananas are good for you, M&Ms are not, but you should eat both for a balanced diet. Thank you to my mom, who's here tonight, for the early and late hours transporting me, feeding me, supporting me through the good and the bad, and especially for the hours she spent in emergency rooms, doctor's offices, and hospital rooms, as well as her never-ending support while mending me both physically and mentally on a daily basis. And thank you to Kim Buer, my coach, my mentor, my trainer, my teacher, my tutor, my psychologist, my nutritionist, but most of all, my friend. Only athletes can understand the bond that is forged between a coach and an athlete, and how unbelievably important a coach is to the success of an athlete or a team. When you try and count the number of successes that Kim has had as a coach, you can see just how unique and special this man is. And it's not easy coaching. I started coaching high school divers a couple of years ago. Kim helped me to come up with ways to coach them and to do certain dives. But it took everything I had inside of me not to call him one day sobbing because one of my divers had hit her head on the diving board. And I never wanted to step foot on the deck again. Then I remembered the time Kim squeezed the skin on my leg together to stop the bleeding before the paramedics could get there. Or the time he squeezed my head together after I split it open in Jamaica on a training trip. Or the time that he stood on the pool deck convincing me to open my eyes after a huge crash I had, even though I was convinced that they were on the bottom of the pool. After all these years, it was still his influence that got me back on the pool deck the next day. Thank you to Smith College and to the athletic department for this wonderful honor.
Our next inductee played softball and basketball. She was the leading scorer with 1,441 career points, 3 New England Women's 8 all-conference nods, New England Women's Basketball Association All-Star Classic selection, 3-time Seven Sisters All-Tournament Team selection, 1991 MVP, and she holds the record with 564 career field goals made. She also, these days, coaches her daughter's team. Please join me in congratulating inductee Phoebe Jacob Moore, class of '93.
I get the cheap seats back there. If you're older, when you get inducted, you get in the front seat.
Thank you so much really to Lynn Oberbillig and the Smith Athletics crew, consisting of the committee for the Hall of Fame, as well as all of the coaches, and really everyone that I spent some time with during my career here, but also the coach today, Lynn Hersey, who's in the back, in the cheap seats back there. And, in the upper deck. But I know she's listening. I'm so proud of the Smith basketball team and what they've accomplished. Since I've been here, we had an okay team. I scored a couple of points when I was here. But what they've done today is just outstanding. And they've got a truly dynamic coach and some leadership that's going to take them many miles. And I'm so just proud to be associated with the team. I don't know if any of you know, but they won 2 games in the, no, 1 game. 1 game in the NCAA tournament last year, and that was just awesome for Smith. And so for whatever reason, basketball is a forerunner really in women's sports, and it always has been. I think time is going to change from that. But in the time I was here, basketball was certainly a focus. And so we always took great pride in that, and we always walked proudly around campus as basketball players. The day when I was here, it was Pat Summit, and there was a lot of strong women basketball coaches. But in any event, we took great pride in playing Smith basketball, and I love to play Smith softball as well. But I really, truly want to first thank, again, the Smith basketball team for having me, the Smith faculty, Lynn, the committee. One thing that is a testament that I find coming back here today, 21 years later, is that, you know what, so many of the people are still here. Even the equestrian coach is still here. And the track coach is still here. And what that means is that they don't want to leave, because this is a tremendous place to coach and teach young women how to become professionals and successful young women. And that's a testament to Smith. And so I also wanted to commend Smith for establishing the Hall of Fame. This is a wonderful thing. I come from a Big Ten environment. I'm from Michigan. My father played Purdue football, and he's here today. 1962 graduate from Purdue. And we see these booster clubs, and we see these, some big financial backings for these athletic programs. And I want to also commend Lynn for starting the Friends of Smith Athletics, and I wanted to push that a little bit. Hopefully I'm going to become a little bit more active in that. And the powerful thing about Friends of Smith Athletics, and whether it stays Friends of Smith Athletics or it becomes something different, is that each one of you in this room has the power to provide athletics to Smith women. And what that can do is give them success in their career. That can help them be a small town attorney like me, or an amazing coach at some other Division III institution, or become professional women and executives, because it gives them the competitive drive, the teamwork, the leadership skills. And so what's interesting, I did a little bit of research, and I don't do research too often if it doesn't involve case law, but this is what Sophia Smith said in her last will and testament. I hereby make the following provisions for the establishment and maintenance of an institution for the higher education of young women, with the design to furnish for my own sex means and facilities for education equal to those which are afforded now in our colleges to young men. I'm going to read that last phrase. Furnish for my own sex means and facilities for education equal to those which are afforded now in our colleges to young men. So those facilities and those things that cause women to be young leaders and have successful careers are also athletics. And I've kind of heard it from other members of the Hall of Fame, and I'm so proud of all of them for recognizing what athletics does for us. But it gives that competitive drive and desire to lead in our lives and our respective careers. And so it's not surprising that the mission of Smith College is to educate women of promise for lives of distinction. A college of and for the world, Smith links the power of the liberal arts to excellence in research and scholarship, developing leaders for society's challenges. So yes, we can obtain amazing educations. We can be very bright and excellent academicians, but we can also be strong athletes and take that with us and give it to our children. I have with me the class of 2023 and 2027 in the back. You can stand up. Alan Moore. And so I'm very proud children and give them the benefit of athletics and their academics. And that's what we need to continue to do. So when you do get that call or that letter from the Friends of Smith Athletics, know that you can have an effect on young women and young Smith women to not just give them an Ainsworth gym, which is amazing, Jill, and thank you for that. But give them the opportunity to have a full team, a beautiful boathouse, just like Amherst College, just like UMass, just like Purdue. Give them that opportunity. And we can do that. We can take that next step. We, collectively, as the Hall of Fame coming back every year, can be pioneers and leaders in the field of athletics and giving them that combination of education that we so truly believe in America, that combination of academics and education. And so I encourage you to join us in the Friends of Smith Athletics. And again, just thank you my parents, thanks for all for coming from Berkeley and Falmouth in Michigan. I'm so proud to have you with me tonight and celebrate this tremendous honor. Thanks so much.
Our next inductee excelled in both field hockey and softball. She's still in the top 5 career goals and points in field hockey, as well as goals and points in a single season. She was the 1994 North-South Senior All-Star Game selection. In softball, she holds the single season record for batting average and on-base percentage, and was twice honored as the NUMAC Player of the Year. Please join me in congratulating inductee Lisa Cook-Ford, class of 19. Thank you everybody. It's such a gift to be here. I was thrilled to get the notice in the mail last spring. I couldn't believe it. I sort of thought, this can't be me, isn't this? This is everyone, right? We're just all invited to Smith for this wonderful event. I read further, and I think it's me. So I'm just very excited. Over the last 2 days, I've met amazing new friends. Crew team, Kelly O'Connell, the new the current Smith softball team, many others, reconnected with many old friends, and shared a bit of my Smith experience with my husband, children, Connor and Carson, my father, and my brother. I'd like to thank the Friends of Smith Athletics and everyone who worked so hard putting this very meaningful and memorable event together. I've appreciated every minute, every moment, every last detail, every thought, exactly the way I felt about my 4 years here at Smith. Thank you so very much. Bonnie and Judy, I still hold you here. I always will. So thank you very much. Go Pioneers, Smith rocks. Thank you. Undefeated. Our next inductees, the Hall of Fame, had an undefeated season and then took silver just 1/10 of a second behind the champions. But undefeated. It brought joy to a program that already had quite a bit of it. And they started traditions that live on to this day. Undefeated. There isn't much more to say. I just want to thank all of them for being here, our youngest inductees so far. Please join me in congratulating Elizabeth Godshall, class of 05, Christina Luttle-Landefeld, class of 06, Anna Cray, class of 04, Katie Seston, class of '05, Alex Kennedy, class of '05, Lee Eubanks, '06, Liz Higgins, class of '06, Beth Niebuhr, class of '05, Niebuhr Montgomery, sorry, class of '05, Sarah Voorhees, class of '06, and Stephanie Smith, Ada Comstock Scholar, '05, the 2004 Crew Varsity 8. Congratulations.
We decided to have an herb test to see who would talk. And the slowest person had to do it. I should have stayed in shape. First off, I'd like to thank Lynn so much for organizing this amazing event, for coming up with this amazing idea, and for really bringing the prominence to Smith Athletics that it deserves. I'd also like to thank the current administration, both athletic and academic, just for actually finally recognizing how awesome athletics truly are, and how important they are. And, Smith is a wonderful academic school, and I think we're all pretty smart. We've done well for ourselves since we graduated, but it hasn't been, just because we were good students. It was because we were good athletes. And what our other co-inductees have talked about tonight, in emphasizing the importance of the holistic Smith experience, including athletics. I could go on for a while, but I won't because we're tired. But it's important. So thank you so much for recognizing that. So I'm speaking on behalf of 9 other people, and I asked everybody to give me their thoughts and their memories and some input about this season in particular, why they thought we were fast, who they'd like to thank. And so first and foremost, our parents. We were raised by phenomenal men, by phenomenal women. So many of those parents came out to support us while we were rowing, both at the high school level for those of us here, who are lucky enough to row in high school, and at the collegiate level. And even today, I see a lot of faces out in the crowd. Papa Seston, rocking his bow tie, and Annie and Paul Higgins were just wonderful presences at our regattas, bringing us food and cheering for us. And I think that so much of the strength that we had in 2004 was, just sort of a reverberation of the support that we had on the ground. So thank you so much. Also to my mother, who has always been a champion for me, and my aunt and uncle who are here today, who are sort of like my folks away from home back here on the East Coast. We'd also like to thank all of our partners, our wives, our husbands and wives-to-be. You guys have been phenomenally patient with us this weekend as all of us have squealed and, reminisced together. Talked about memories, some of which involve you, some of which don't. And, we're all rather strong-headed women, but I think we're very passionate women. And we're also very loving and caring women. And so we wanted to thank you for, being there for us and for recognizing that and for supporting us as we are incredibly obnoxious in our Smith crew reminiscing ways. It would be amiss to not mention the strength of our second varsity vote from 2004. We were blessed with an immensely deep team. And I just want to read out the names of some of the women who are in our tubing. These women challenged us to go faster every day at practice. And we were as strong as we were because of their input and because of their challenges. And these women are Vanessa Otto, Kim Shassetts, Ellen Keene, Amy Hardy, Nora Hawkins, Cora Olson, Catherine Robinson, and Elisa Hitt. So, our undefeatedness until NCAA's was due in large part to them. So we want to thank them also. What Lee said in our wonderful video today about the joy of rowing has so much to do with the love that we felt for each other. And in the emails that I received from all these women, our love for each other and our love for the sport was, just a constant theme. And to quote Lee, because she put it better than I ever could, she says, our speed, and she's not here tonight, but she's at a wedding, spreading some more love. So we miss her, we wish she could be here. But Lee said that our speed was merely an outcome and a byproduct of this deep expression of love and joy. Being fast was an expression of the joy and love I had for the sport, for my strong and capable body, for that exhausted last final piece on the Connecticut while the sun rose, and most especially for the inspiring women whom I felt so privileged to be amongst. And finally, it means so much to us that we had such phenomenal coaches that year. We had Sarah Canfield, who was our novice coach and doubled up as our varsity coach while Karen was on maternity leave, who whipped our butts into some pretty tip-top shape. I think I probably ran more stairs with these women, with Sarah Canfield glaring at us, than I ever want to run in my life. We were blessed with a wonderful graduate assistant, Dave Patterson, who pushed us farther than we thought we could go. And when someone is yelling at you, it's always more effective when they do it with an accent. And Dave himself is British, and so when he told us that we were, buggering off, it actually meant something, and we appreciated that. And finally, we all want to thank Karen Klinger. This woman is just... birthed and raised, and well, not just John, but this program. We all stand here as products of an amazing coach, of an amazing athlete, and of an amazing mentor. And it's such a joy to be able to come back to Smith and to be able to, see Karen and talk with her about rowing, about personal things. It's so wonderful to be able to look back at that year in 2004 and to really see, her hard work and her efforts and just her devotion to this sport come to fruition finally. And so I would like to ask all who are able to rise and give Karen a hand, because if there's one woman who deserves it, thank you very much.
Our final inductee of the evening is, of course, most often thought of in literary circles, but was also such a tremendous supporter of athletics at Smith College. She was the catalyst for the construction of the indoor track and tennis facility, for which I, as a walker, thank her. Outdoor track and tennis courts, the renovation of the equestrian indoor ring. She supported giving undergraduate credit for physical education classes, and she was also responsible for the creation of an athletics department separate from physical education. Please join me in congratulating the first woman president of Smith College, Jill Kirkland.
Thank you all. It's a wonderful honor to join this group of extraordinary athletes. My contribution to the events tonight really comes from a deep commitment to physical health and strength for women. And of course, when I came to Smith in 1975, it was still a period in which women were trying to fight to get proper training, to get proper physical education, to get public money for supporting women's education in schools and so on. So it's a great pleasure and tremendous fulfillment to be here tonight and watch these marvelous athletes. Just a dream come true to see that this has been possible here and that Smith has led in so many ways in the development of women's athletics across all fields, but particularly in the ones we've seen tonight. When I came to Smith in 1975, people were running in the alumni gym. If you can imagine, that was the space that they had available to them at the time. There was a considerable debate about whether or not it would be appropriate to have women compete outside a small group of women's colleges because it might really be an uncouth experience, something that really didn't match what was proper for a young woman to do. And I have to say that one of my great helpers in changing those attitudes comes from one of the predecessors here tonight, Carol Newstead, because she really was a secret service for me in the structure of athletics at Smith at the time. I think that for me, since my training is in the field of history, I sat here tonight thinking about how forces are set in motion that bring about important social change. And I think that that is almost always the combination of extremely talented and committed individuals and the collectivity of an institution that can be shaped and grown to meet a new set of standards and new definitions of achievement. For myself, my achievements around here as an athlete were getting somebody to come early and open the gym so I could swim before I went to the office. And that was a wonderful, almost daily experience. And of course, I had the pleasure of watching wonderful teams develop. One of the things I've always remembered is that despite a good deal of criticism from many fronts, I agreed that there could be a Smith program in working to develop the whole field of I'm having what they call a senior moment. in the whole field of rugby. And I was much criticized for it, but it was wonderful to watch those young women become as physically brave as they were in this particular club activity. I used to go and watch them in their competition. And of course, most of the competitors that they could find around here were much older than they were, heavier, and much better equipped physically for what is a kind of wonderfully organized war. And I always remember a day, a cold, rainy day, when the Smith team was getting really beaten up by a team of women who were older, heavier, and much more experienced. And at half time, we got together and talked about how they could still win. And as they went back to play, the captain said, "Come on, Smith, cast out fear." And they won. So my interest in athletics has come from my very powerful sense as a historian of what a force it is in social change. and what a force it can be when people are really given the opportunity to strive to achieve the maximum that they're really capable of. Most of us don't even have that kind of training, and to be set on a path to believe that you can do that is enormously releasing. So my pleasure tonight has been in thinking back a long time now to 1975 and the objectives that we first had and the support we had, as well as the quite fervent opposition, and to see the fulfillment of those dreams today. I know from listening to the teams tonight that we will be coming back to celebrate more achievement, every possible chance we will have to meet. And that means that Smith has achieved over many decades now a force for education of an intellectual, emotional, and some would say spiritual kind, which comes from believing that you can reach your best, that you can really use the talents that you have been given to the maximum ability. And any society that produces that kind of aim for achievement is normally extremely creative and also extraordinarily effective. So what I would like to celebrate tonight is the achievement of the wonderful staff and coaches, the alumni who have supported this in an extraordinary way. I had great fun going around asking for money for especially for the athletic competitive programs. And I really think that we should all stop and think about what is achieved when people are given the discipline and the opportunity to strive to be their best self. And we don't often have situations in life where that is common and respected. So my thanks are to everybody who's built this wonderful program. You've made all my dreams come true, and I'm sure they'll only get better. And I am so delighted that I've had the opportunity to see the fruits of the efforts we began with quite a long time ago now. Thank you very much.
Change the world. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I'm going to turn things back over to the woman who has made tonight such a wonderful night, Director of Athletics, Lynn Oberbilling.
Just thank you to everybody who came tonight. When you get a full room with all the enthusiasm, it makes everybody in the room feel special. So I hope you walk away with a little token of our appreciation and you remember us, because in 2016 we'll be doing the third class of Smith Hall of Famers. So hopefully some of you will be back to support us and enjoy it. And I know it's a long evening, so I won't keep you, but I have one small request that the Hall of Famers please come forward so we can get a group picture before you leave tonight. Otherwise, safe travels and thank you again.